As an expert on Chinese culture, history, and economy, do you think Mr. Trump's return to White House and his initial actions and announcements are true to Beijing's expectations, or do you think they are also shocked?
I think if we see the last 1.5 decades, so there's no change in US policy. Either it's Obama, or it's a Trump, or Biden, or again Trump. They engage Europe in a conflict, Ukraine and Russia. Then they try to wipe out Russia from the European market, from Ukrainian market. And who made money from that? American. During the war, who is making money? American arm production industry. Trump is trying to get that point here from Ukraine. Look, my companies, USA company, the arable land, 28% of arable land in Ukraine is owned by American multinational companies.
And the rare earth material.
And that is another, which I think that Zelensky has agreed today.
Yes.
He will sign.
Reluctantly, perhaps.
Sign.
Yes. So this is the price that America is extracting from Ukraine in return for the military assistance that it received in the last 3 years. When you look at Pakistan's foreign debt, what is the cost of the Western debt on Pakistani economy?
And from here they are making money. You are asking me now if they are introducing, they don't know the cost of war.
Yes.
Tariffs. Actually, they are making money from these actions. So increase interest rate, the global market will be volatile, no protection. Nobody want to invest. They want to keep money somewhere safe, and US dollar is giving a 5% yield. So why not? When I read the American media, when I read their scholars, especially Rand Corporation or Chatham House or these others, so America, UK and other things, for God forbidden, they are preparing for a third world war. Financial market is triggering these conflicts. If you look at when the Napoleon time or the world wars, who was making money? Even in the Iraq war, Citibank was making money, was lending for the war. In the old Germany, on the European wars, who were financing those wars? Rothschilds. The Bank of England was created after Napoleon defeat.
Who's going to make money during Trump's era?
These banks.
Which bank?
The big banks, the Bank of America.
What does it mean for the Chinese rise? How much it will affect the Chinese rise, and what options China have to address these challenges?
So China started from the very beginning, especially when the President Xi Jinping came, they started to integrate in the global economy. Now, there are more than 100 countries that are major trading partners. Global economy is dependent on China. China, through the BRI, Belt and Road Initiative, they have 152 countries on their side for the trade and investment.
A recent attempt by US to coerce some of the trading partners of China, which includes Sri Lanka, which includes Panama, to get out of partnership with China.
China has become a trend setting. Once China becomes a trend setter, so their efforts to become the global hub of trade definitely will become true.
Viewers, very warm welcome to another episode of V News English program Perspectives, in which we bring before you very insightful and informed perspectives on some of the most critical issues that the world faces today. For the last 1 month, the world is still trying to understand and recover from the huge shock that Mr. Trump's return to White House has caused, particularly in the economic domain. His promise that he'll use tariff wars to deny market access to friends, competitors and allies alike is causing concern around the world. But we have witnessed a lot of analysis from Western perspective that what Mr. Trump is trying to do in order to save American jobs and wealth and life and blood But it is also equally important to understand how the world interprets and understands his choices and his policies, and how the rest of the world, including the emerging and rising powers like China, are likely to respond to such challenges. So in order to understand and discuss these very important issues, today we are joined by a leading expert on East Asian economics, and particularly an expert on China, Dr. Ramay. Thank you so much for joining us. Dr. Ramay, as an expert on Chinese culture, history, and economy, do you think Mr. Trump's return to White House and his initial actions and announcements are true to Beijing's expectations, or do you think they are also shocked?
Thank you, Ali, for having me here. And before answering your question, I just want to make it clear I'm not doctor. So I'm a without doctor. I think if we see the last 1.5 decades, so there's no change in US policy. Either it's Obama, or it's a Trump, or Biden, or again Trump. If you see the sequence of the events, starting from the Mr. Obama, talking about the pivot of Asia, then he was negotiating TTIP, Transatlantic Trade Investment Partnership. That was equivalent to, what they were trying to do through the TTIP. They were trying to be equivalent to the growth potential in 2050 to the Asia. They want to equalize with the Asian growth potential or the share in the global GDP, because there is a prediction in 2050, so the Asia will be contributing 49%, the global GDP. So what they were doing to bring the Europe and America together to make a economic NATO, so they can compete with the rising Asia, the rising power of Asia. Then after him, the Trump came. So he introduced the trade war, tariffs, and everything. And third, the Biden. Biden even was more shrewd, and he introduced very deep sanctions. He brought the policy changes which have the long-term impacts as compared to the Trump. For example, during the Trump, Mr. Biden era, he introduced Chip and the Science Act. That is categorically targeting Chinese company. So no, we will not do any business with the Chinese company in technology. Why? They want to, you can say, finish, they want to really attack Chinese chip and the semiconductor industry.
Let me, build on that very important argument that you shared. I recall in late 2022, US issued its national security policy. And one of the most interesting aspect of that was that it described this decade as the decisive decade in terms of maintaining or shaping a new world order, and identified China as the greatest long-term challenge to US interests, and defined US threat perception for its national security in terms of disrupting the China's global supply chain. Do you think that was Biden's national security policy? Do you think Mr. Trump shares the same agenda, or do you think he will bring a different toolkit to his policy?
What is my understanding? That the policy objective is same. Only the faces are changing and the tactics are changing.
Now, I want you to explain and elaborate that.
Yeah, definitely. Look, if from the Biden, he was talking about sanctions. He was talking about the trade tariffs. What is talking about the Trump? Tariffs, sanctions, containment, same word. But tactics are a little bit different. Mr. Biden was a very silent person, but the Trump is very loud. He is creating too much hue and cry here and there. But one thing which we are not understanding, this economic strategy of Mr. Trump is only the one, you can say the one bite of the whole picture.
Okay.
Because ultimately, as you said, not to contain China, to disrupt and to make China subservient to the US. That is their policy goal. They want to remain superpower. And they have identified 2-3 areas where they feel the challenge. Number one, technology. The trade is on the secondary, but now the technology is the main thing. If you remember, in the last term when President Trump was in power, in White House, he gave a briefing and he categorically said, we cannot allow any country to surpass US in technology or the future developments. By the way, who are you to tell this? If you're president of the United States, not the president of the world. So that means that when Mr. Biden came to the power, the same agenda was there.
So
let me complete finish.
Yes, sure.
So same was there. So and the trade sections and everything, and they were pushing countries to come out of BRI, Belt and Road Initiative. They were asking countries, don't do the FTA, free trade agreements, and like these things. But one thing they forget, or we can talk later about the impacts. So these are their tactics. One time they pick one thing fight, the other time they pick another fight. Now President Trump is trying to show that he is trying to undermine China, check the Chinese supply chains, or they want to isolate China, economically isolate China, and they want more imports for China. This is okay, if China have to export us, they also have to import many things from them. But they are not understanding one thing. Historically, if we see, sanctions and tariff don't produce the results. I give you one example. On the onset, before the onset of the 1930 recession, there was a very famous bill a smart bill, I think, from the USA Congress. They imposed 20% additional tariffs on agriculture imports. And many people think, so that was the start of the recession. Why? Because it's a cyclic process. If you look around right now, so USA has targeted 3 countries, Canada, Mexico, and China. And the total import trade volume with these countries is 1.3 trillion.
Almost more than 40% of the total trade of the US. Three of the major trading partners.
43%.
Yes.
1.3 billion. And if only we analyze, if the US is putting the tariffs, so what will be the impact on the US economy?
So basically, in the initial phase, Mr. Trump has targeted the 3 of the biggest trading partners of the US.
Yes.
And using the market access as a coercive measure to negotiate basically greater technological denial.
But it is not a one-sided thing. It will be two-sided, dual-sided.
Okay.
It's a dual-sided. You can say, we usually use a term in Urdu, do dari talwar. So it would be two-sided sword.
So what are the options for China now?
Before coming to China, just want to put one figure here. If only we understand, so only US put the sanctions or introduced the tariffs, and Mexico, Canada, and China are not introducing. The impact would be $3.5 billion per month on American economy. If they come, what they said, they will bring the 25%, 10%, 15%. The impact on American economy would be the $8 billion per month. That is the dead weight which will cause the loss to the GDP. And there's a prediction, if it continue like that, tit for tat, this figure continue, on the existing tariff increase, the US GDP will be depleted by 0.36%. So this is only one example. If you expand this example to other countries, so that is the perfect strategy to go for the recession.
And how does an astute, experienced business tycoon like Mr. Trump not understand this? Why is he doing it?
No, I think they very much understand it. They know it very well, because in 2018, when he introduced all the sanctions, so IMF predicted, so IMF estimated either, so there was 0.89% decline in the global GDP. And there are other figures, and the SPG, they were talking about 1.4% decline in the global GDP. But what they want is you have to look at their greater strategy. They want to maintain their hegemony, and they are ready to pay any price.
But do you think, in your assessment,
And,
can Mr. Trump
other part-
afford this, the political cost of this recession?
Look, they played very smartly. What they are doing right now, if you look around, people say, oh, they are doing this, they are doing this. Look, first, they engage Europe in a conflict, Ukraine and Russia. Then they try to wipe out Russia from the European market, from Ukrainian market. And who made money from that? American. All the energy products are coming from USA at the higher prices. During the war, who is making money? American arm production industry, creating jobs, so everything. That's why they're celebrating. They want to maintain it. But now the cost is increasing for them. Because then I was just reading a Rand Corporation report. They were referring, so asymmetric was wonderful strategy in Ukraine. You try to invest on their diplomacy, their defense system, and their resistance, and you may build the capacity of their armies to fight back asymmetric wars, or you can say non-traditional wars. But after that, for that purpose, you have to spend a lot of money in the first stage. And second stage, you made a lot of money. And Trump is trying to get that point here from Ukraine. Look, my companies, USA company, the arable land, 28% of arable land in Ukraine is owned by American multinational companies. So they are at the choke point of the food security now.
And the rare earth material.
And that is another, which I think that Zelensky has agreed today.
Yes.
He will sign.
Reluctantly, perhaps.
Sign.
Yes.
So
this is the price that America is extracting from Ukraine in return for the military assistance that it received in the last 3 years.
3 years, and they are getting in the billions of dollars. Maybe in the trillions, maybe they are hiding it. One thing, and so that's why I say Biden was more shrewd person. He did so deeply he infected the system. So Trump, they are using another face. Just they're talking about the economy. But simultaneously, if you look to the Trump, he is threatening to Afghanistan. Give back my arms. And yesterday I was listening to him. He was saying, why you gave the Balgram?
Yes, indeed. So, I mean, in order to summarize what you've said, one tends to identify three key elements of the US strategy of disrupting Chinese rise and the global supply chain. Number one, tariffs. Number two, denial of access to technology, and also leveraging the US market as a coercive instrument. What does it mean for the Chinese rise? How much it will affect the Chinese rise, and what options China have to address these challenges?
Look, when China started her reforms, especially when the President Xi Jinping came to the power, he made an analysis of USSR failure. So where they made the mistakes, why they failed. Before that, there are 3-4 books which has been written by their well-known scholars, Mr. Chow, and then there is a retired army officer, Mr. Liu. These books must be read because it gives a lot of information. So he analyzed one thing. So in USSR, economy was controlled by army. Second, they lost the trust. The new generation lost the trust in ideology. Third, they were not globally connected. So China started from the very beginning, especially when the President Xi Jinping came, they started to integrate in the global economy. Now, they are more than 100 countries that are major trading partners. Global economy is dependent on China. Trade especially. The supply chains come through the China. And major American companies are making a lot of money there. Apple, you talk about other companies, Lam Research Labs, other Elon Musk, who is not making money from there? So China made its sure first step deeply integrated in the global system, where the Russia did not. He tried to create a double lock, only few countries. Second, China through the BRI, Belt and Road Initiative, they have 152 countries on their side for the trade and investment. And for the last 10 years, China invested $1 trillion in BRI. And it mobilized 2.49 trillion from the other sources. So 3.49 trillion has been invested during the last 10 years. Not only from China, but others. China is partner. Even the World Bank is partner, ADB is partner in some there. So they're partnering with other countries. Second, from 2030, in the last 10 years, the trade between China and the BRI country increased from the 1.03 trillion to 2.6 trillion. Double, exactly double. So China created alternatives. If America is not, no. Who is the biggest trading partner of China now? ASEAN. 980 billion something. Second, European Union. Third is America. So China created alternatives. Not only in the trade, but on the trade side, if international trade, China is the first country in the world who started to organize China International Import Expo. You will not find any import expo in the world except in China. And during the last 7 years, so almost 3,000 new products has been introduced there by not only by China, but all the big companies from the world. This year, 297 companies from the Fortune 500 company of the globe, they participated there. And during the last 7 years, they have made the $500 billion US dollar. Third, China is a necessity for a technology, a supply chain. If the US, they have the designs, they have the Netherlands, they have the machines or something. So China has the rare earth metals. 34% of the globe, rare earth metal stocks are in China. Known. I'm not talking about unknown. Maybe there are more, especially in the western Xinjiang. By the way, Xinjiang is a target because it's a home to very precious metals. And it is the connectivity gateway of China to the Europe, Central Asia and Pakistan and these areas. Otherwise, they are not interested in the Muslims. The Americans, the Europeans, they are not interested. If they would be interested, they would be talking about the Gaza. So, in the supply chain of the technology, and 60% mining capacity is with China. 85% processing capacity is with China. 90% capacity of the making the high profile magnet which are used to make the semiconductors and chips with China. Can you afford to do that? Just imagine tomorrow if China say, I'm not exporting these things. So where would be industry?
But I want you to comment on the recent attempt by US to coerce some of the trading partners of China, which includes Sri Lanka, which includes Panama, to get out of partnership with China. China is a big power. China is relevant. China is growing. Not all its small trading partners can absorb and tolerate the US pressure. What does this mean for such partnerships?
Look, countries decide on the future prospects, not just on the present. And one thing is clear, US is a declining economic power now. But they will play smart, they will play very, you can say, cruelly. I will explain later on the later part. But right now, China is the future of the market. Next 5 years, China will be contributing 21% to global growth. So who wants to miss that market? But yet they will be contributing. Second thing. Next, from here to 2049, China will be graduating at least 500 to 600 million people to the middle class. Right now, they have the middle class of the 500 million people. That was 200, in 2070, it was 400 million. So they will increase.
So their purchasing power
Because
customer base will increase.
Even if there was some estimations, if the additional people till 2030, they were assuming the number of 4 million will be added. It will be added to the middle class. and they are increasing $20 increase per month. So what will be impact on GDP in trillions of dollars? Future market, one thing, and second thing, consumption is increasing now in China. So urbanization is increasing, and there was estimation by NDRC of China National Development Reform Commission, 1% urbanization means 280 billion US dollar economy added to the existing economy. In the last 2 decades, urbanization is increasing at a faster pace. Third thing, in the global market, the one dynamics are changing. In past, American middle class was very powerful. They have a lot of money. They were well established. They were trendsetters. Now Chinese middle class is becoming powerful. They have more money. They have more things to spending. On that, especially on luxury products, on the fashion. If you look at 10 years ago, Chinese were following the American styles and these things. Now the process is reversing. China is becoming trend-setting. Once China becomes a trendsetter, so their efforts to become the global hub of trade definitely will become true. Right now they're the global hub, but people will look toward that because they are trendsetter. They will make the products. Every company want to be there because they want to be the part of that. They want to make money. Like now this year, Japan was a major recipient of the spending from Chinese persons on the luxury products. You know, these America, South Korea, Japan, and Australia, and these 4 or 5 countries which are very vocal about China and these things, they are a major importer and exporter with China. At least more than 100 billion. Why they are not leaving them if they were to leave? Why they themselves are not leaving? Why they are the major partners with China?
But I want you to briefly explain this paradox. I've witnessed in Australia, I've witnessed in other countries where China is major trading partner, in some cases major investor in those countries as well. But on the other hand, their defense posture and policies against their biggest investor. How do you explain that?
Look, there are the 2 major things. Number 1, China never bowed down to the pressure. But the most important thing is the ideological war. Because the liberal system cannot absorb, any other system can develop and can be presented as alternative. Real problem is ideology. That's why in 2019, I think, or 2020, the European Union came up with a policy, their China policy, and they identified China as a strategic rival. Strategic ideological rival.
I think I want you to explain this, a very profound point you've made. US presented itself as the leader of the free world, the so-called rules-based order, and also the spearhead of the liberal paradigm that is promoting liberalism as part of its foreign policy and defending it as part of its defense policy. After Mr. Trump's return to Oval Office, don't you think the current administration does not want to spend any money, life, blood, or effort in promoting liberalism anymore?
No, they will be.
There will be? How?
That's what I'm explaining. Look, you're talking about a Trump. I will again talk about Mr. Biden. You know, during the Mr. Biden era, they have printed, I think, more than 2 trillion US dollar note. And they increased. They're talking about a rule-based system. They increased the interest rate from 0 to 5%. And you know how much money they attracted from the global market by increasing the interest? Initial estimates were 10 trillion US dollar. Countries like Pakistan had to suffer due to the inflation and the volatile exchange rate.
I want to interrupt you for a very important response. When you look at Pakistan's foreign debt, what is the cost of the Western debt on Pakistani economy?
Pakistan major debt is from there.
If you look at Pakistan's debt kitty, the total debt on Pakistan, when you look at...
I think 24% China, rest is West.
Okay, so it's 24, 76.
And another one thing, and second thing, China that gave us a debt when the Western countries were twisting our arms.
So the terms and conditions are also
Very convenient.
different.
And there are different types of the debt from the China side. So there are special, you can say, drawing allowance for the yuan. And these are different categories. That is not topic today, but
Okay. But that's important. Thank you.
Going back. So the $1 trillion. And from here they are making money. You are asking me now if they are introducing, they don't know the cost of war,
Yes.
tariffs. Actually, they are making money from these actions. So increase interest rate, the global market will be volatile, no protection, nobody want to invest. They want to keep money somewhere safe, and US dollar is giving a 5% yield. So why not?
No, but
And the rest of the world will cripple. US financial market will grow exponentially. But they are forgetting it is a short-term solution. Because it will definitely accelerate anti-dollar campaign. BRICS is already doing it. The more country will join it, because if America is playing with every market by manipulating the dollar interest rate, so people will start to go, no, leave it. We should go for the alternatives. It will accelerate that speed of anti-dollar movement.
So you're saying that more coercive trade terms by the US will disincentivize trade or preferential trade with the US and incentivize the emergence of alternative markets and currencies.
It is happening. That's the real problem why the US is so aggressive now. Despite all their threats, measures, or all the sanctions, they are unable to isolate China. As I explained to you, China is deeply integrated in system. Right now, China is not asking other countries to follow his dictations. Like Chinese model or Chinese governance system or something like this. They say, okay, what you are doing, do. We are interested with economic partnership. But on the other hand, wherever Americans or Western countries go, they go with the long list of the values, the so-called values, ethical principles, like these things. Although they don't have. Because if they have the principles and they have even slightest minimum 0.0001% care for the human rights, they must be talking about the Kashmir, they must be talking about the Gaza, where the two genocides are going on. But they are appeasing the India, they are appeasing Israel. So forget about what you are saying, that principles, values. They are the story of just, you can say that they are using as a mask. When they have their own trust, they will forget everything. So, to impact China right now, it's impossible. If I look at the economic dynamics, China is highly integrated in the global market.
And my last question is, do you think that the declining US security commitment towards Western Europe will also encourage Western Europe to improve its economic and trade ties with China?
They are doing it. But interesting point is here, somewhere they are under influence of US. Still they are I'll give you one example. USA signed a first phase trade agreement with China. During that, they also got some relaxations or some exceptions for the financial investment in Chinese market. But when Europe was about to sign an investment agreement with China, America influenced them, don't do it. You remember last when Mr. Biden came into the power, his special driver flew to national security advisor flew to the Europe.
Yes.
Don't do it.
Yes.
So now, right now, there is some realization among the American circles now. So America is using us.
So do you think World Trade Organization will survive Trump's presidency?
Do you think it's working? I don't think so it's working anymore. Because every country is doing what they want. Where is the rule? Who is following?
So multilateral economic system is collapsing.
Not a multilateral. You can say hegemonic economic colonization is collapsing.
Okay.
Because the Bretton Woods institutions created by West,
Yes.
they were controlling the world.
So your argument is that China is leading the decolonization of the 21st century of the global south?
Economic decolonization. Why China is doing it right now? I cannot say about what will be doing China after 10 years, 20 years, because you don't know who will be next leader and what would be their objectives. But right now, if I analyze their policies, they're doing 2 or 3 things which are very beneficial for China and the global south. Number one, they are increasing the integration, economic integration. They're focused on the economic integration. They are sharing the technological development, dividend of technological development. They're asking other countries to join us. For example, in the space station, they're asking every country to come and do the research there. Huawei is a cheaper source of technology everywhere in the world. Second, Chinese market is growing very fast. Consumption market, which is creating, for example, give you one example, at least 400 to 500 million people will be graduating to the middle class with a higher spending. Because they will have kitty. It's not just about some middle class country, no, high class income country. They have a lot of money to spend. Food trade is increasing. So the commodity markets, like some African countries like Pakistan is still a commodity market.
Yes.
We can export a lot of food there. They need a human resource. They need other sophisticated products. Everybody has stake there. The consumer market is accelerating. Third, the central government have the minimum debt to GDP ratio, which is a factor of stability. I think it's a 21% or 24%, I'm mixing the figure. So that is a GDP debt to GDP ratio of the central government. Only local government have the debt. That we can explain another way. But the central government, on top of that, central government have huge foreign reserves. Fourth, China is increasing investment, inbound and outbound. China is inviting investment, and China is doing the investment. For example, I'll give you one example. Under Shanghai Cooperation Organization, China created a special economic zone in Chengdu. SCO China Trade and Economic Special Economic Zone, where the members countries of the SCO can go and invest and can enjoy a lot of benefits. So these factors are equivalent. And lastly, China never attacked any country, never remain aggressor toward any country. China talk about the win-win cooperation. This is very interesting terminology. I was talking to a Chinese diplomat. He is a very famous Chinese diplomat. And what does this term mean? He explained, look, when you are in power and you are making a deal, don't try to get the all, or the 70%, 80% of the deal, because it will create grudge, the bad image of you in the mind of the other party. Whenever they will have chance or become powerful, they will come after you. The best strategy is, if you want sustainable relation, a prosperous relation, go for the win-win cooperation. You win, I win. And there is also a Chinese proverb, very beautiful proverb. They are saying, you cannot do business with a poor person. That means you have to also build their capacity. At least they have money to spend on your product. If you are talking strictly about the business, not about moral or ethics, anything else. So that's why it seems that China is sustaining this pressure and countries are refusing. Because if you look at Europe, if you look at USA, what they did with other countries, like what they did with Pakistan. At one time, Pakistan was the frontline ally against the war on terror. And on the other hand, the same Western media, the same USA media, they were portraying Pakistan like a hell, the most dangerous country for the investment. Don't go for the investment. Rather than Pakistan was expecting, we are paying the price of this war on terror, they will bring the investment. Right? They were not even bringing the investment, but they were also making sure no one invest in Pakistan by running these campaigns. So every other country has tasted this USA or the Western strategy or the policy. So that's why they are more comfortable with China. And China, when China says, so Chinese philosophy and the President Xi Jinping especially mentions many times, so talk without action have no meaning. The policy without action have no meaning. Like when they're talking about this last year about the African leadership, they thought we will give you 50 billion next 3 years in these sectors. Through the credit, through the assistance, through many areas. We promise you, we will increase the trade with you. Now in 2023, so our bilateral trade is, so African Union and China is $282 billion. And now when US is imposing the sanctions on South Africa and other countries, so it will increase further. So China is taking action for the welfare of both sides. If today's infrastructure is creating somebody, China is investing in infrastructure, we can use it. For example, in Pakistan, in the context of Pakistan, I was just talking to one of my friends. He is a very big name in the Pakistan stock market, Zahal Latif. He was explaining China has made so many assets here in Pakistan. Pakistan can use them for the Sukuk bonds. Can you explain that the Americans have given us these assets and these things which you can use for the Sukuk bonds? Because first, Sukuk bonds are always based on something, concrete thing.
Something tangible. And safe.
Safe. That's why they are Islamic. You are not giving the interest, you are giving the rent. These are another debate that they are not acceptable, right? But this is an option. But one thing you mark here, when I read the American media, when I read their scholars, especially Rand Corporation or Chatham House or these others, so America, UK and other things, for God forbidden, they are preparing for a third world war. If you look at their deployments, for example, if the Rand Corporation is saying, so that was a successful model, do it in other countries. First, engage them in the non-traditional wars. Non-traditional wars are sanctions, terrorists. Then go with the work with the local population, make them your allies. Build the color revolution through them, destabilize and go there. If it not work, then go the direct war. Because they don't have the option. Global financial market, here is another point which we need to also consider. The global financial market is triggering these conflicts. If you look at when the Napoleon time or the world wars, who was making money? Even in the Iraq war, Citibank was making money, was lending for the war. In the old Germany, on the European wars, who were giving the financing those wars? Rothschilds. The Bank of England was created after Napoleon defeat.
Who's going to make money during Trump's era?
These banks.
Which bank?
The big banks. American, the Bank of America. That is not owned by the state of America. So if you have to also understand the other dynamics, do read about the city of London, the hub of financial gurus of the world, from where the financial market is being run, from where the Virgin Islands are managed, offshore companies are managed. Who is invested there? So it is not a simple thing, the trade war. There's a puzzle in the big puzzle. So every have the one thing, you only have the one byte with you. Everybody is thinking of the one byte, I have complete picture, but the complete picture is somewhere else. Actually, their economic colonization system is in danger, and they are trying to do everything to sustain it. At the name of ideology, they were doing for many years. Free word and these authoritarians and like these things. People refuse to listen. No, they're enough here. We have listened to these slogans for the last time, but we are making good progress since China is investing in our country. Then they came out debt trap, and these number of things, allegation. So when they fail, no, they have become more aggressive. They think they can contain China and technology. As I explained to you, it's not possible. China has invested heavily. And you know, the number of STEM graduates in China, it was predicted by, I think, some American university, So number of STEM graduate in China in 2025 would be double than America. And still 2007, the STEM graduates was less than. In Chinese, the STEM graduate number was less than the American STEM graduates. And the STEM graduates is a key to create the knowledge. And knowledge is the basic on the way the innovation drive is being built.
So you're saying that China is leading the knowledge growth as well, not just the industrialization and trade.
I give you the numbers. And look at the publication numbers. I don't have the statistics.
And the number of patents as well.
Patent. That's why the patent. From where the patents come? Creation of knowledge.
Right.
And they have other things they learned from the Russia. They are not only creating scientific knowledge, that they are converting it to technology. So and they were saying, so my money is that, money is that. China have proved with less money you can do the miracles. DeepSeek. It has, you can say, what we love, we can use a word. So,
disruptive.
The whole global market of artificial intelligence came to the own knees.
Yes.
And the one day, the hundreds of billions dollars were lost in the market value of those ChatGPT and others.
Yes.
With only 20 million. That shows the strength of knowledge creation.
So, Mr. Ramay, thank you so much for joining us for a very candid, very insightful, and very interesting discourse on the global economic war that the world is witnessing, increasingly after Mr. Trump returned to White House. But also thank you for explaining how the rest of the world understands it, how the rest of the world, including China, is likely to respond to it. So thank you, viewers, for joining us, and keep watching this program. And don't forget to share your feedback and comments. Thank you so much.